Welcome to a series called The End of Times, where we're going through the book of Revelation verse by verse to see what it is we can expect to happen, but more importantly, what it is we should be doing in the end times. And as we've gone through this incredible book, we have made it to a place where we spend at least 2 chapters talking about the beast and the harlot and Babylon. And we've spent many episodes dedicated to the harlot and to the beast. So we're just going to pick it up where we left off. Revelation 17, starting verse 1. Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and talked with me, saying to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication. And the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication." Now that's specifically the sexual immorality, the pornography, the sex slave industry. "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness." This is the wasteland wilderness. "And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which is full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And these 10 horns, we've discussed, are 10 kings who are of one accord. They work together for one cause, one of them being the Antichrist. And we're going to talk about the 7 heads a little bit today, and we'll move forward with that too. "The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls." That's the gluttonous spending of this nation. "Having in her hand a golden cup full of the abominations and the filthiness of her fornication." She's literally got a golden cup filled with the blood of the saints, the pornography, the adultery, the sexual slave industry, and she's drinking it. "And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, the abomination of the earth. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints, and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement. But the angel said to me, 'Why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which has 7 heads and the 10 horns.'" So I'm just going to pause there because, again, we haven't got into the 7 heads, but what I'm going to ask you as we read forward is to eliminate any sort of Hollywoodized image of this beast and what these 7 heads are. And we're going to get into some things you're going to say, "Oh, well, that's this or that's this." Just erase it. We're just going to look at what the Word of God says and point to some things. Let's pick it up in 8. "The beast that you saw was and is not and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. And those who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see the beast that was and is not and yet is." Now, we're going to kind of focus on what they're talking about here, this beast, because twice they say in 8, "The beast that you saw was and is not and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. And those who dwell on the earth will marvel, just like John marveled." So here's John marveling. And the angel said, "Why are you marveling? The whole world is going to marvel. You're seeing the spiritual symbolism of what this is, and it's making you marvel." Imagine what the world is going to do when they see this, not as a spiritual image, but as an actual reality in front of their eyes. But what is this? Was and is not and will ascend out of the bottomless pit. Well, I'm going to kind of take you back to Revelation 12, because we've seen this before. So just hang on with me. I would like to say before we get into that what they're saying is you always kind of want to go back to the words, because, saying that something was and is not and will be, that's a very confusing sentence. So let's look at the words specifically, because what it's saying is that first word was is exists. The beast that you saw exists. Not in a past tense, it exists is what that word says. And it is not, what's that saying? It is, and it does not exist. And that's a fascinating thing, and we're going to get into that today. So it exists, and it does not exist, and it is coming, is what that word is when it says, and yet is. It means it is coming. So what they're saying is it exists, it does not exist, and it's coming. All right, so what is this you're talking about? Well, let's go back to Revelation 7 or Revelation 12 and see when we first saw this. Revelation 12 verse 1, now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. And, go back and watch those episodes, those 50, 60 episodes ago. But that's Israel. That's specifically Israel. Then, being with child, that's Jesus, she cried out in labor and in pain gave birth. And so you have Israel, and Israel gave birth to Jesus Christ. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems on his head. It is the red dragon. All right, now let's keep going. His tail drew a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth to devour her child as soon as it was born. So what we're seeing back in 12 is we're seeing kind of the history of the world. As a reminder, we're seeing just the history of the world in a few passages. Satan has fallen with a third of the angels. And he himself is the 7 heads, and you have to see it. Those 7 heads we're going to find out later are kings also. They represent a few things, but one of the things they represent are kings, past, present, and future kings. And they are all satanic, and that's why this is so important to understand, that these are satanic kings. They are possessed by Satan. They're given power and authority. They rose to power through satanic devices. It is satanic kingdoms and kings that we're talking about. Now stay with me. And she bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and to his throne. So here what you have is you have the second coming of Jesus Christ, and of course Satan is not okay with it. So he's having kingdoms rise. He's holding power, withholding power all the way to the Antichrist, which will be very, very satanic. Let's keep going. Then the woman fled into the wilderness where she has a place prepared by God, and they should feed her there 1,260 days. That's then the flee from Jerusalem. Just like Jesus said, when the abomination of desolation takes place, when you see that happen, run. And that's what we're seeing here. For 3.5 years, there'll be this place in the wilderness prepared for the saints and for the 144,000 Jews. But why is this taking place? Why? What is this beast? Now keep in mind, let's put away, who are the kings? What are the mountains? What are the heads? Let's put all that away. Let's just put it away. It's satanic, and that's what the angels, he's saying, why do you marvel? The whole world is going to marvel. The world is going to marvel at satanic things. Those whose names are not written in the book of life, they're going to marvel at these satanic devices and these satanic things. That's the whole point, because what you're seeing is you're seeing Satan. You're seeing Satan, who exists. He exists. Yet, he is not yet. He doesn't have power at certain times. There's times he is not there's not a satanic king ruling the earth. But yet, he is coming. And these satanic kings, the future ones that we're going to talk about, they are coming. And that's the point of all this. Well, why? 7, war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor was there a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out. So he exists, but he doesn't exist. And that serpent of old, called the devil, Satan, who deceives the whole world. That's why they'll marvel. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out there with him. All those demons now hanging out with us, warring. Then I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ have come. For the accuser of our brethren, who has accused them before our God day and night, has been cast down. So he's accusing us. This is how it starts. It starts, this beast will start accusing us of things. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives to the death, and will die because of it. Therefore rejoice, O heaven, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time. I'm going to go back to Revelation 17 real quick, and we're just going to kind of go through it now, keeping all that in your head. Because he said, this dragon had 7 heads and 10 crowns. It's the same thing. But he's showing it as satanic. What we see in 12 is what we're seeing here is we're seeing it as a kingdom, and we're seeing it as people. What we're seeing in 12 is we're seeing the satanic part and the spiritual warfare that's taking place, giving rise to that beast. So let's just take a look at it again. The beast that you saw was, and is not, and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. Now that perdition is, that's not destruction, because when we get into the 7 heads, and we're going to get into it today, you're going to see that the devil doesn't get destroyed. He gets thrown into the bottomless pit. And those who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see the beast that was and is not and yet is coming, is what that says. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Now, I'm going to put that sentence aside, because I guarantee a lot of you are going, oh, that's this, that's that, that's blah, blah, blah. I'm going to put that aside for a second, because we're going to come back to that next episode. There are also 7 kings, so they are those 7 mountains, and again, we'll come back to that. But there are also 7 kings, so these are the 7 satanic kings. 5 have fallen, so 5 are dead. 1 is, this is John's time, and the other has not yet come. That's the Antichrist. And when he comes, he must continue a short time. We just saw that. So let's go back to 12 again. For the devil has come down to you having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time. Now, when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. So he persecuted Israel. We've seen that. That hadn't even stopped, ever. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time for the presence of the serpent. So here, there's a hiding place for her. So the serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. And those are the nations. But the earth helped the woman. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring. That's us, that's the saints, who keep the commandment of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So what we're seeing here is these are satanic kings. So as we talk about the beast, it's satanic. The 7 heads are satanic kings and satanic kingdoms. 5 are dead. 1 is also dead, but in John's day he was alive, and we'll get into those the next episode. Who are those? And then the next one, he is coming. So that's, again, Satan, these satanic kings, this beast, it exists, but it does not exist. It doesn't exist right now. Well, it's starting to. Well, I believe it does exist right now, but there's a period where it did not exist, and now it's coming. It is coming, is what the Bible tells us. So. We're going to pick up on the 7 heads and get more into those kings and kind of talk about what's taking place there in the next episode. So stick with us. Love to hear any thoughts on that. Put it below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. If you feel called to support this channel through Patreon, that link is also below. The most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests. So please don't ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.